Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining this morning. We shall just begin in a minute. Just hang on for a while. Can you hear me? Okay, everybody. If you could just I can unmute you. Either you can say or put your hand electronically. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Just as a random check, Emma, can you hear me? Okay, by any chance?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks. Welcome. Let me check with others. Yeah, I'm getting a few hands up, so that's fine. Excellent. So we'll start today by focusing on, the core element of messaging. So as you know, Web Spiders owns the product Event2Mobile, and Event2Mobile as well as the enterprise messaging product. So what we're going to talk is how messaging is taking over as the core foundation for enterprise engagement, both within an event as well as on a day-to-day living. So I guess a lot of you have heard about Telegram becoming popular. Of course, you know about WhatsApp. Telegram yesterday announced that they've gone to 100 million users, and actually they have 4 times more engagement than WhatsApp. So they're delivering about 15 billion messages a day, uh, which is roughly 15 messages per user, whereas WhatsApp on an average delivers 4 messages per registered user. So the level of activity is quite different. Now, what we are seeing is that the whole messaging revolution has come from the consumer world into the enterprise world, and that's what we're going to discuss today in this webinar. So that's briefly me. I'll just skip that. So if you want to reach out, just email to me at sid@webspiders.com or contact@event2mobile.com. So I'm located in Singapore. We have other headquarter offices in New York and in Midlands in UK. So this is our broad geographic footprint. So what we are really seeing is, if you remember, the core element of this is whether it's an event or it's a day-to-day element. There are three aspects of any digital presence, right? Whether for a company or for any organization, whether government or otherwise. If you see, we talk about community. So now community we understand now as social, but the idea of community has been there for a long time, right from the days of email when DARPA created the email protocols. So community building is one important aspect of everything digital. Of course, content is the key motivator. Now, when I say content, it could be content that you get from, as a news content or media content, but also when you are in an enterprise, when you're talking about enterprise content, whether it's your internet, whether it's your ERP, whether it's your records or engagement, all of that essentially constitutes content. And then, of course, it's commerce, whether it's digital commerce, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's e-procurement. Uh, what we are seeing is that when you see any modern application, whether it's community or whether it's content or whether it's commerce or whether it's a combination of either of them, messaging today is at the heart of that. You may not always realize, but if you take out the messaging piece from any system, it just doesn't function. And that insight also gives us an opportunity as to what we can do tomorrow to make our systems more engaging, to make our systems more effective. And that's exactly why we, as a vendor of apps for events and also for enterprise messaging, so we have two products, right? Enterprise One and Event2Mobile. So our event product uses our messaging platform, as well as we license our messaging platform to large companies who are not interested in using multi-tenanted messaging platforms. So that's essentially what we do, and we're going to discuss how messaging is really the modern foundation for content, community, and commerce. Now, I'm not going to, of course, uh, go much about this, but I think it's safe to say that a large part of what we do today as a consumer is around messaging, and that very same habit is actually coming into the enterprise. So whether you talk about any of the social channels like Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn, whether you talk about your mobile channels, whether it's Messenger, WhatsApp, Telegram, it's all about messaging really. Instagram is about messaging, right? So if you're not able to message that content, it's of no use. Um, so that's I think there's no doubt about it how messaging is the core. Now what really happens is that what our platform E1 Enterprise One powers our event platform as well. So what's the unique thing about when we say events, it includes right from customer events to when people get together for an employee event, for a training, for a workshop. If you carefully see the entire corporate world, even the government world, essentially runs with an event as a milestone. In fact, events are such a fabric in the life of any organization that it's just not possible. It's something that will exist forever. That's the basic idea. And the reason is that events create a focus point. They, in fact, essentially create a focus of energy around a specific timeline, whether it's 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 5 day. So when you talk about a sort of public event like a Chinda parade or a National Day parade, or whether you talk about, the more social things like the Chinese New Year holiday or the General New Year, what they essentially are events, right? And people essentially orient their energies around that event. So, from time immemorial, what we've seen is that social and consumer traditions, coming into the enterprise situation. So the same fact that how events in the personal world really change, the way we live, right? The same thing happens when in the business. So if you can see, World Mobile Congress is going on right now, how people, make sure that what they develop, what they deliver, that's done at that time, how energy is concentrated, how people connect to make a community, to share content, and ultimately with the goal of exchanging commerce. All of that essentially is because of the event. Apple, as you know already, all the product announcements are based on the events which are pre-organized. So every June, every September, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, all of them have the product release cycles now based on event. Businesses run off events. So what really happens is that, the fact that events are mobile by nature, the fact that events demand that people come and get together, it means that mobility is at the heart of events. And that's why this app to drive engagement during the event is so critical. And what's even more critical is once you have the app, what aspect of the app drives that engagement? And what we're saying really is messaging is what drives engagement. So imagine, there are 100 people at an event. It's just think of it like an automatic WhatsApp group that's created because of those 100 people coming into the event. Now, this is an example, what you see here, Andrew, James, Emma, Lynn. I'm just calling out your names so that's more interactive. Michelle, what this is a town hall meeting that we had, the WS group had, using the E2M platform, of course, and we had this leaderboard, which is basically based on what kind of engagement, how engaged you were. And on the right, you can see the messaging platform that's on. So really, other than the information is not the reason why engagement happens. In fact, information is pretty much one way. If you're reading about agenda and the speaker profile, there's not much that happens. But when you contribute back to the system, when you contribute back to the audience, to the speaker, that's when engagement happens. So again, we are seeing that messaging is such a core part of engagement in a HR event, like a town hall event. So when we talk about our own product, the event to mobile in the context of events, so what I've been trying to do is explain how events is at the foundation of the life cycle of an organization, whether it's a government organization or a commercial one. and how further messaging is really the platform. So at the cost of repeating myself, if you see these typical features, like agenda management, polling, Q&A, gamification, all of these essentially run via messaging at the background. So when you talk about a meeting module, for example, when you talk about setting up a meeting, essentially it's exchanging messaging between the users. So a core and a strong messaging system, that works flawlessly, is really at the heart of how you can deliver on your promises. Again, we see here the messaging part. E2M is used just to give you some perspective. This product is used by the largest bank in the world. This product is used by the largest charity in the world, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We have one of the largest broking houses, TD Ameritrade, using this product. In Singapore, we have Singpost, Singtel, all of them as users of the product. So, this insight has come from our analytics when we see why are these companies paying us for licensing this product? Why are they using it day in, day out? I mean, some of our customers, let's say the bank that I talked about, has 2,500 events a year. So you're really looking at almost 10 events a working day. Now, when you look at that kind of an event, why are they using the product? And really the answer again comes back to messaging. So to give you an example, messaging may not be just text messaging. I mean, this was an example of one of our customers. What they did was when you went inside the event, you took a selfie, and that selfie then went onto a big board where you presented, where it automatically came for everybody to see. And if you see the slide, on the background, you see this DeFi written. So that's where it really came. And then you could get your badge printed with your selfie. But at the same time, what happened was that other than the selfie, they were using the messaging infrastructure to share that within the attendees. And that was really what was powerful. I mean, of course, this is a small module, but what really happens is that it drives an instant engagement in that process. Again, people are always competitive. People want engagement by gamification. So, one of our other customers, they had a 5,000 delegate event in Denver, Colorado. They used Treasure Hunt like nobody's business. I mean, everybody was motivated. Everybody was incentivized. It was really a key factor in the engagement process. And again, things like the leaderboard, etc., they help in the competitive spirit, but they also ensure that people access the information that the organizers want to. So, by tools like gamification powered by messaging, it really help drive engagement. So the central theme is, of course, you want to drive engagement. And the overall, how do you do that is with these modules, but all these modules run with messaging as the background. So this is some statement by SAP and Deloitte on how gamification has impacted the progress during training programs, which essentially we classify as an event, which is anything that has a start date and an end date with a specific objective. Another example of a customer using the product, during the events. Again, a great tool to boost engagement. A really invaluable tool there. So just to wrap up on gamification, it's not just element of learning, fun during learning. It's really an element of engagement, as you can imagine. So of course, when we've done the engagement part, you can realize that we are looking at the core information as well. So if you have an event, we are looking at the attendee bio, the speaker bio, but then we also look at things like how do you go from this part of the hall to that part. I mean, let's say you're in Marina Bay Sands and you want a wayfinder, it does that. You want to bookmark your list of speakers or sessions, you can do that. If you have personalized meetings set up in advance, you can do that. So all of that is also possible with the E2M platform. This is an example of the third largest law firm called Freshfields. They're also based out of Singapore. We did their event in Paris, and it was a huge success, huge success. And if you see the feedback, it was an internal event, so they had about 1,000 partners in the room. But really, the key takeaway was the fact that they could discover other people via engagement. So if you see this small, if you see the screenshot at the back that says agenda at the bottom and then attendees and then the social part, that's what was most popular. For with the ability of people to, uh, you know, uh, talk and uh, discover other people, that was really having the most value for them. So as you can see, the point number 3, engage in online conversation with other delegates. Again, it's the messaging which is empowering. So it's a bit of a repeated insight, but we're just trying to share how we've had success in event apps using messaging as a platform. Again, when you talk about messaging, messaging is not just with person to person. We're talking about messaging with the person to the enterprise systems or to the venue. So beacons, as you already know, perhaps beacons are small devices that are placed on the venue, and they emit low energy Bluetooth signals. But what really can happen is that it can engage in a messaging conversation with you based on your location. So this is an example. When you come into the venue, it understands that you are just arriving at the venue, and it sends you a welcome message. Or it could, for example, tell you that the registration is at level 1. Or it could tell you things like around me. So when you are standing, it will tell you who are the people around you within 20 meters. And if you enable auto messaging, it would automatically enable you to connect to other people. So it would understand, it would discover your profile and would make an automatic communication between two people with the hopes of connecting them. So that, for example, is a huge element of engagement and networking, and we are trying to enable that via automated messaging via beacons. Again, as you can see, in an exhibit scenario, it sort of tells you, okay, how are the number of attendees near your booth. You can see who are the people near your booth, and you can further message them. So TD Ameritrade, Cognizant, which is a large IT company, a lot of these companies, they use beacons very actively. So as you can see, we are looking at, an event app is not a static element. It's meant to be interactive. So when you talk about rating, you are talking about polls, you're talking about messaging powered by the social wall. Essentially, that's the real reason why people invest in event apps. And with beacons, you start to communicate with the environment rather than just the just people to people. So this is again showing you examples of how live Q&A polls and survey are done. So this is a cool new add-on. What we did was we understood that a lot of people want to talk, and then the mics are usually on short supply. So what this does is that it converts your app into a microphone. So you place a call request, the speaker can see how many people want to talk, and then when he enables, you can actually talk through your phone, and the voice comes off the public address system. So it's a pretty good, cool little module that we have. So as I said, in the meeting module, you engage into conversations in terms of setting up specific meetings with people, but again, using the Bluetooth technology, it could actually automatically pair you up and give you some sort of a serendipity in terms of who you want to meet. So NUS, for example, uses this tool in their Innovest, Innovation Festival to ensure meetings. Then A-Star as well, with their group company IPI, they essentially hold a lot of events where people share their IP, and then they connect people who are seeking IP versus people who want to give out IP. So this is actively used by people like NUS and A-Star. There's another example where a medical conference, CAST 2015, they use our app. This is what I was mentioning in US using for Innovate Fest. And of course, behind all this, the insight that comes in, you get live analytics. The insight that you get is just invaluable because it spots the trend. It tells you who are the influential people. It tells you, what's going right, what's going wrong, and then essentially allowing you to make real-time decisions. So another customer, Bill Gates, in fact, himself is a user of the app. They use it for 5 events every year. Singapore Post, this was an example of them using it for an internal event. LGT Bank, it's a very large Swiss bank. And again, just a little bit about Enterprise One. So Enterprise One is really the messaging platform that exists as its own app, but also powers Eventoo Mobile. And it really helps you to connect as well to your backend systems. So it's a very seamless tool to connect to your existing systems. So things like if you're getting, if you're following a tweet, it can be pushed to your messaging system. If you want a certain Facebook page update to your event system, I won't go much into this, but essentially this is the platform that is powering the E2M system. And Developers SDK essentially means you can embed messaging as part of any of your applications. In the same way that we've used messaging and put it in our E2M application, you could use our Enterprise One platform and use it for any application or website. So this was a half-an-hour session. With that, we essentially wrap this quick webinar for 30 minutes or so. So I hope there have been some insights that have been useful for you. So with that, if I would welcome any thoughts. I'm muting everybody. So if you have any thoughts, I'd love to discuss if it makes sense. Just call out, for example. Emma, do you any thoughts on what you've seen or any questions that jump to your mind?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
You're good. Okay. Excellent. All right. So thanks everybody. Then thanks for being here, and we hope you join us for the next webinar for these short information sessions. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks.